Well, good evening once again as we start a new week. Day 1236 of the Trump administration, 148 days to go until our presidential election, exactly 2 weeks to the day after George Floyd's death at the knee of a police officer. And demonstrators are back on our streets as we come on the air tonight. We're looking specifically at marches and rallies underway from New York on the left to Portland, Oregon on the right, on both coasts and many places in between. The public outcry over George Floyd's death has ignited debate and action on police reform, and a lot of people advocating for what they have taken to calling defunding the police. The phrase even appears in large yellow letters on the newly named Black Lives Matter Plaza on 16th Street near the White House. Depending on who you ask, defunding police can mean redirecting money to social programs to entirely disbanding police departments. The Minneapolis City Council has already voted to begin the process of ending its police department as currently constituted. The city is still working out exactly what that means. City Council President envisions a year-long conversation. This afternoon at the White House, President Trump weighed in on the issue at a roundtable with law enforcement leaders.
This has been a very strong year for less crime. That's because we have great law enforcement. I'm very proud of them. There won't be defunding. There won't be dismantling of our police. And there's not going to be any disbanding of our police. Our police have been letting us live in peace, and we want to make sure we don't have any bad actors in there. And sometimes you'll see some horrible things like we witnessed recently, but 99, I say 99.9, but let's go with 99% of them are great, great people. As you'll see in some of the papers, they want to end the police department, quote, end the police department in Minneapolis, end it. What does that mean, end it? We're going to be discussing some ideas and some concepts and some things, but we won't be defunding our police. We won't be dismantling our police.
Tonight, in an interview with Fox News, Trump's attorney general backed up his boss.
What would happen if a major American city, Chicago, D.C., disbanded its police department? What would that look like? Would the federal government have to step in?
Well, what it would look like is you would have increases in vigilantism in American communities. There are a lot more damage, a lot more killing, a lot more fear engendered on the streets from criminal elements. In Chicago, for example, in one weekend, if you pull back the police from these communities, there'll be more harm done to these communities.
Earlier today, Democrats on the Hill kneeled in silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the exact amount of time a police officer held his knee to George Floyd's neck, before they unveiled a bill aimed at reining in, excessive police tactics. It calls for more data from local authorities on use of force, funding to investigate police departments, bans on chokeholds and no-knock warrants, and a national database on officer misconduct. The legislation does not appear to shrink or expand police budgets. House Democratic leaders are now advising their caucus members not to let the momentum for reform get hijacked by debates over funding. Earlier on this network, the House Speaker defined the vision for this proposed bill.
Funding of police is a local matter, as you know. From the standpoint of our legislation, we're not going to that place. What we're doing is talking about how we change policy to make our policing more just and that. There's some issues that we ask police to do, like mental health issues or policing in schools and all the rest, that perhaps we can shuffle some of that money around. But those are local decisions.
Perhaps noting this would quickly be used by Republicans, the Biden campaign put out a statement today saying Vice President Biden does not believe that police should be defunded. As Trump tries to govern amid the protests, the ongoing pandemic, and its impact on the economy, a new poll shows his approval rating now stands at 38%. That's down from 45% as recently as early May. We also learned from economic data just out today we've been in a recession since February. Meanwhile, NBC News has learned the Trump campaign is gearing up to present the president with options to resume his rallies, and that over the last week, the president has been asking advisors why he can't be holding mass rallies when thousands are gathered in the streets to protest the death of George Floyd. One of the thousands in the streets on Sunday was Senator Mitt Romney, who is also working with Republicans on a police reform bill.
We need a voice against racism. We need many voices against racism and against brutality. We need to stand up and say that Black Lives Matter.
Today, Trump posted this about Romney, and we quote, "Tremendous sincerity. What a guy. Hard to believe with this kind of political talent, his numbers would tank so badly in Utah." Well, late today, the senator was asked for his response.
I don't know what the president's views are with regards to this issue. He spoke originally about his concern about George Floyd.
Are you considering voting for anyone other than President Trump in the fall?
I'm not going to be describing who I'll be voting for. I don't imagine. My plan is to stay quiet on that.
Tomorrow will be the final public memorial for George Floyd in Houston, where he grew up. Today, Joe Biden was there to pay his respects and hold a private meeting with Floyd's family members. As thousands gathered in Houston for that memorial, fired Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin has first court hearing where bail was set at $1.2 million. He entered no plea. He's facing charges of second-degree murder and manslaughter. He could be sentenced to up to 40 years in prison.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.